Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ASR Development Series, round number 5, and we're way out wild, wild west. Nope, this isn't Will Smith, and we're not getting jiggy with it. This is the Western Australian track known as Barbagallo Raceway. And no, this is not a test, and this is not a hijacking. This is Outworld Broadcasting taking on what is normally handled by the Loose Sim Network for one night only. He's got the travel bug, as Lewis Wedding. He's off in Canberra somewhere. And if he's watching, g'day to you, Lewis. Hopefully we can do this service quite a nice amount of justice for you. But for the uneducated, my name is Steve DeVries, but there's been a plethora of men in the commentary box next to me for periods of time. We've had Hans Brunswick, had Benjamin Rhodey Rhodes. We've even had Lewis Wedding himself drop by on the odd occasion. But for this man, it's his very, very first time here on the Outworld Broadcasting Network. Some say that whenever he is secretly broadcasting, he's thinking about many different types of cones. And that the real reason he has the Donut King sponsorship on the side of his ASR Mustang this year is that he's a secret partner in the New Zealand's largest Donut King franchise. All we know is his name's Kane Gray, and for him, mate, just like Peter Gabriel, it's welcome to the big time. How are you?
Well, that's something else, Nether. What an introduction. I feel humbled. I'm great, man. I'm super excited for racing. Barbagallo is actually a personal favourite track of mine. It's looking like a competitive field. I'm excited for some action.
I am too. It's looking good. There's been a couple of updates. You can actually see there visually on the screen that while we're not using them tonight, there are some bright floodlights available, and that's a little something for everybody here on the Outworld Broadcasting channel watching along in the live stream to look forward to in a week's time. Yes, when the Supercars comes back here, there will be a round with the night lighting going. It won't be a full pitch black night lighting race. It will be a twilight race, and the lighting will help make the broadcast look absolutely spectacular. So please follow along and come along and watch the Supercars broadcast in a week's time. You will not be disappointed. We're not too far away actually from going into qualifying for the first of 3 races tonight. And if we bring up our track overview here, Snipes, it's round 5. The rounds are ticking off pretty quickly, one every 3 weeks. And here it is, the old Barbagallo Raceway. 7 turns and 3 lots of 17 laps tonight. They're going to go quick.
Yeah, they certainly will. It's a bit of a bull ring short circuit indeed to get around. As you can see, the lap times in the low 54s, mid 54s there. So sub 1 minute lap times means those 17 laps really do fly by. Really, really good track for racing this one. It may only have 7 turns, but 3 of them are actually key overtaking spots. Looking at 1, 6, and 7. 6, also known as, of course, the bowl there, is a fantastic spot to get down the inside of someone.
Yeah, it is, and you're right, getting down the inside at turn 7 is the other point as well, coming down the hill, and then turn 1, long sweeping 180 degree left-hander that then starts to bring you up the hill, up through 2, 3, 4, and then cresting the top of the hill at 5, heading down into the bowl at 6, then back up the hill, and then down toward turn 7. So it's a little bit of a roller coaster ride as well. There's plenty of elevation change, and the records on your side of your screen there, they aren't too far away from being broken at the moment. The best time we're seeing out there across the weekend and the practice throughout the week so far are 54.575. Courtesy of Lockie Lock, so only 5/100ths outside the qualifying record. Now, I'd have to say, Snipes, that 54.5 from Lockie Lock has got to be a qualifying run. I wouldn't expect that to be a race run, but it's a bit strange. ASR has this unique thing here that sometimes the race records tend to be faster than the qualifying records themselves, and I think a lot of these qualifying records were set back in a day where it was one-shot qualifying. I mean, you were part of that in seasons past.
Yeah, that was the baptism I experienced there, the old one-shot qualifying. Very, very, very punishing if you get it wrong, but super rewarding if you get it right. I think because of that, yeah, that is certainly one of the factors that as to why you see the qualifying record perhaps outpaced by race pace, which is Rather uncommon, of course, but also I think in some of those races, I think Dane's 54-3 he boxed a couple times, perhaps an accident or two onto softs when you're right in the flow,
Yeah,
fly out there for a good lap.
yeah, you're not wrong. Given the fact that it was both those records were set last year as well, that would have been soft tyre running as well. And I think we're probably going to see something similar tonight. The soft tyre probably being the tyre of choice. The real question is, can you make it last?
Absolutely, that is always realistically the question nowadays in these leagues here. Super 2, Super 3, the whole development series last time around at Winton was certainly a big tire save. So it'll be intriguing to see how the drivers attack this one. A whole lot of right hand turns here. Your lefts get a huge workout throughout it. So realistically, you're going to see towards the end of the race, you may see some more mistakes and people running wide into 6, perhaps making mistakes into 7. There's a tricky little hump at 7 there that can be a little bit of a pain if you accidentally put too much gas down, too much lead into your foot. You will go around very quickly.
Yeah, you will indeed. And ironically, the track is the same length as Symmons Plains at 2.411 kilometres. Has the same amount of turns. The only difference is the long loading corners with the left-hand side copying the load. You don't sort of get that at Symmons Plains. You do here as we head into qualifying for the first of the races tonight. This of course sets the grid for race number 1 and progressive grid throughout the remainder of the 2 races. They all start to file out. 1 or 2 new entrants into the series this round. There's the first one of them on the screen, Hayden Cupid, the Starrett Sim Sports and Panorama Graphics backed FGX in Super 3. His weapon of choice. So a very warm welcome to Hayden, and I'm sure the Starrett Sim Sports group are watching along with vested interest here, keeping an eye on their young charge to see how he goes tonight.
It's always good to have new faces in the series. I still remember my first race at Pukekohe. I just wanted to stay out of the way, honestly. So he'll just be hoping to obviously get around, get to the end. I think that's the best goal you can have on your first night in a league, nevertheless. Good to see some new faces going as we turn over to Higo here, who's just absolutely centered at one. Unfortunate. It's going to be a bit of a flat spot there.
Yep. It's not going to be a very pleasant tyre to drive on for the rest of this lap for that one. And because the new thing that came in this year is you just can't just hit the escape key and bail out of a lap anymore. You've got to bring the car to a complete stop somewhere off to the side of the track, a la like they do. I think someone's rolled. Who was that?
Who was that? That is... What has happened there? I think I saw a flash of pink. That could have been Miles.
No, it's Lockie Lock.
It's Lockie Lock.
What on earth has he done? What on earth has he done here?
That's mental. That's probably going to be the crash of the evening, and we're 2 minutes into it, if that. And Lockie Lock is absolutely sent it there. Let's see. I reckon he's got up on the curb here, potentially Nether.
No. Yes.
Yes.
Up and away. There you go.
Mate, into the fence.
That's one of the biggest actions I think we've seen here at Barbagallo. A lot of people remember the one where the Brad Jones Falcon rolled at the bowl many years ago, the Aussie Male Falcon, and I think as the side running joke was, they went and had to put some stickers and some sponsor branding on the bottom of that car as a result. Well, I think Lockie Lock, it's, I can't remember when that was. I think it was like 2001 or 2002, I think it was, when that happened. Someone in the live chat will correct me on what year that was. It was actually this corner, pretty much right here off to the left is where it happened in real life, and Lockie Lock has just gone and replicated that at the other end of the circuit. Geez, we're off to a flying start.
Absolutely, that might go down as an official ASR moment in history. I feel he's absolutely sent it. Lockie Lock is a big favourite for pole this evening. He's had the pace over the field in practice, so it'll be interesting to see what he does lay down here early. But early on, Darren Kemp with the fastest time, 55 flat. So we've seen cars go faster.
You have indeed, and he starts his lap. Coming to the line is one of the flying Kiwis in the FGX, Damo, and to the line at 55.8. It's a good improvement for him up to P5. That's actually a 1.3 second improvement. That's quite a handy improvement.
Certainly respectable from the underdevelopment squad member there, Damo, carrying the torch there. His brother also in P3, Luke Yeager, so good from that squad there as we look at Nathan Higginson absolutely attacking the circuit. And Glenn Miles going off behind him.
Yeah, Glenn Miles going off in the boonies behind him. That's just following off a few things that he's probably seen in front of him and just not paid attention to the road and where it's going in front of him. Higginson was up to the first sector split. He's lost time in the second sector split, though. He's down a tenth and a little bit, but this would be good enough to put him provisionally on the front row with Darren Kemp. If he keeps going, another lock-up, and he's gone.
That's gone. Yeah, that's that lap over. He's managed to hold it. He's going to go around for another lap, but that's going to ruin 2 laps at once. An unfortunate place to be losing the rear. Not too much of a run into one, so he might not lose too much time, but it's certainly going to overheat the tyres.
Yeah, no, for him it was important because he didn't have a lap on the board just yet, so now he's actually got something on the board to begin with. Have a look at this, Steve Warwick, though. Very, very nice at the moment. Up to the first sector split. He was a 19.1 and only 2 tenths outside the current purple sector held by Darren Kemp, who's actually gone faster at an 18.9, so he's tracking along rather nicely, right behind Steve Warwick actually as well. So this will be a really good indication of how these two cars are matched. Warwick to the line, jumps to third. Kemp to the line, improves by nearly 2 1/4.
54.7, that's the gauntlet of the evening so far, as we see Warwick lose it into one. Bit of a hazard there for some of the drivers like Kemp to be getting around, but well done to navigate it. It looks like he's aborting this one though, but still, that's a bit of a gauntlet laid down to the likes of Lockie Lock and Higginson, even Cheese, who we've seen be able to kind of replicate that, and we see now absolutely locking it up into the bowl. It's a tricky braking zone indeed, so it's very, very easy to do. He's got Rhodey in front of him. He'll appreciate the toe, but he'll hope he won't be held up into 7.
No, hopefully not. I think Rhodey is far enough in front to avoid being a bit of a roadblock here for the 747 Nissan. And through the final corner, great curb shot and out the other way. That's actually worked okay for Cheese. Is this going to move him up to the front row? No, not quite. Only a small improvement, so the toe wasn't really worth a lot there for him.
I feel he would have lost a lot of time with that mistake there into the bowl there. If he gets the braking right there, he finds that couple of tenths easily, and he moves himself well up. Pushes
himself into a pretty decent spot for the moment for starting, but you're right, a lot of drivers starting to push the limits just a little bit too much coming into the bowl. And it's tricky too, because when you've got downhill braking zones versus uphill braking zones, and of course on the flat, you're always going to be using a bit more tarmac coming down the hill because your momentum is going that way, and gravity's also having a hand to say in that as well. So it's always very difficult when you decide you want to go that extra 2 or 3 metres beyond your braking marker. You've got to get it spot on. You've got to have the speed and everything matched precisely. Felipe now, big brake lock up at the final first corner, and he's also now gone for a wild ride as well.
Yeah, many people on the Booney Express at this point in time. And to add to your point there, Nether, down into turn 5, not only is it a difficult braking zone, it's also trail braking, which can be quite a tough thing when you are also loading the tyres. You're turning in whilst you are still braking, so super easy to make a mistake there for sure.
Yep, absolutely. 3 minutes to go in this qualifying session, and the top 3 at the moment: Darren Kemp, Nathan Higginson, Peter Thrower up into third ahead of his countryman in Cheese, Steve Warwick, Lockie Lock, Damo and Luke Yeager, Phil Donny and Bratt top 10 at the moment. All Super 2 runners inside the top 10. Luke Yeager makes an improvement, moves up a row to 6, so he displaces Lockie Lock and now moves on to sharing row 3 with Steve Warwick. Here's his fellow stablemate and countryman Peter Thrower, not on a good lap at the moment.
The start one, and let me tell you right now, Lockie Lock's going to be feeling a little bit of the pressure here. He's set the fastest lap time in the on the practice server and even in the official practice tonight, I believe. But he finds himself well down the order in 7th. He's just starting a flying lap, and he's gone a bit deep at 1, so he's really struggling to get that car. Now he'll get us a nice late apex here. He might still get a reasonable run, but he lost time there. He's really struggling to pull up the car at this point, it seems.
I think you're right there, and he got a little bit too greedy at turn 3 and 4, and that's just kicked the car wide a little bit. It has cost him some time though, but he's still up on his own time, and he will probably have to keep going here. He probably won't have enough time to get into the lane, get tyres, and probably get out at this rate. He's got no choice but to press on.
Definitely started struggling a little bit for front end grip, but that is part and parcel still of the lock setup. He is up by the barest of margins still as we head down into turn 7. He's got 2 more shots at this. If he's got the fuel for it, he's got time for 2 more laps. He's got Rhodey in front of him. He won't want to be seeing that because he can probably catch him quite quickly. Let's see what he goes to here.
He advances by...
Oh,
You know what? I was about to say this. He was .003 behind Luke Jaeger. He's now .001 behind Luke Jaeger on the timing screen. So he had .3032 up to this sector, and he steadily lost a little bit throughout the lap. But, geez, it's a margin of fine times at the moment.
yeah, no doubt. The small circuit definitely creates that. He's up by a tenth now, getting into the bowl. He's slowly ranging up on Rody. It looks like he's got that reasonably okay on the bowl. It's hard to get down the power here, though, especially when your tyres are starting to get warmer. But this looks a bit tidier than his first lap, so I expect him... Oh, he's lost time.
Yeah, he's gained a little bit, and he's lost a little bit of time. Directly behind him on the road's Higginson, who's currently the championship leader in P3, and he'll get another lap as well here. Just looking to see on our list where our lead Super 3 runner is. I actually think it's Cracker in 11th place, which is a bit of a pleasant surprise to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Cracker's actually been racing really quite well in Super 3 this season. Always a contender. Cracker was actually one of the first people I remember racing when I joined the league, so it's definitely always good to see him out there.
And actual fact, Cracker, Taglis and Rody are the top three in that class, and I'm actually surprised. I reckon Rody's got a 55 in him, but he's just not able to break it at the moment. Although with that sector time at Sector 1 split, as Lockie Lock's gone well wide and locked up behind him, I think his qualifying session will be done. Whether or not Rody can find a little bit extra, move ahead of his teammate Cracker. Jeez, he found some more time. He nearly doubled the advantage that he had found at Sector 1. So he's on the grass. He was very nearly going to lose it on the run to 7.
He might have held it. He might have held it a bit here, Nether. He might still gain. It depends on how good his turn 7 was in the last lap.
He's done it.
He does move up to the 10.
He's done it.
Good effort. That's a good effort with that moment on the grass there to pull himself into the top 10. Let's hope he doesn't get displaced in the next few moments, but that's a good effort, I think, there from Rody. 55.756.
He found a little bit of time when it mattered. Steve Warwick found some extra time, did not improve the place. A few other drivers just coming across to set some of their own PBs. Good improvement for Darren Lochner. Unfortunately for him, down in 15th place, just ahead of actually Melody Smith going fractionally quicker there than Hayden Cupid, and Phil Boak opting not to set a time in this one. And I think Taipan, looks like we lost him a little bit before the server went green, so that's a little bit of a shame. So he's going to be starting from rear of grid when everything is said and done. Pole though to Darren Kemp over Cheese by 38 thousandths of a second. Not much in that at all. And then Higginson and Thrower on row 2, Warwick and Locke on row 3, Jaeger and Damo, they're brothers, I think, aren't they? Or they're related, I believe, the two of them.
They are brothers.
They are brothers.
Jaeger and Damo.
The brothers,
sharing a row.
They're sharing row 4, and then Phil Donny and Rody sharing row 5, 9th and 10th, respectively. There you go. So there's the rest of the order on your left-hand side there as they all slowly make their way back to the lane. 10 minutes of frantic activity of whoever's got the ability to set the fastest lap, or I guess you've got bragging rights now as to who's set the fastest lap time, and that goes to Darren Kemp. So we have a short pause here. The drivers will go in and have a little bit of a driver's briefing with Brendan Ross taking the reins from myself tonight, which is I'm very grateful for, given we're looking after the broadcast in here. And we expect to get back Taipan and Glenn Miles, the two that didn't set lap times in that one. So hopefully we'll see them back in the next few minutes. Well, sum that session up, Kane. There's a few fine margins in that one.
Fine margins, big crashes. We're not even into racing yet, and we've seen the biggest crash all year, perhaps. And yeah, certainly it's all up for grabs. You know, there is something we haven't really touched on yet, Nether, is just how many of our mainstay drivers in this series aren't actually racing tonight. Obviously, the big name Ben Hall not racing. Car crash this week, mate. Hope you're okay. Thinking of you. But then we're missing the likes of both the Cecils. We're missing newcomers like Brandon Dostal, etc. We're missing quite a few drivers. Zach Brown's not here. No Walshy tonight. So it's a really good opportunity for a lot of these drivers who may typically be a bit further back or something to score some points and really move themselves forward in the championship too.
I second that. I think that with the some of the title protagonists being out of action, so the likes of Ben Hall, and we do send our our speedy recovery wishes to Ben. He's in the live chat at the moment. It's good to see you watching along. I think he says he's frustrated at the moment. I can imagine why, but we've told him he's got to look after himself. Otherwise, he'll end up in a place that nobody wants to see him, and that's us included. But with Higginson and Lockie Lock sort of being the ones that we're going to be keeping an eye on the most because they're at the pointy end of the championship. The other podium spot, I think probably the third place podium spot, is definitely up for grabs. I probably would toss that one in. Darren Kemp, Cheese, Peter Thrower, Steve Warwick. They're probably the 4 drivers that I'm probably looking at in this one and seeing that one of them could probably reach up and grasp a third place on the rostrum tonight at some point or another. Actually, speaking of the driver standings, we probably should go and actually have a little bit of a look at what they look like after the first 4 rounds. And we have got 2 pages here, ladies and gentlemen, so let's have a little bit of a look at things. So after the Winton round and all the penalties that were applied, it is Nathan Higginson who's got the reins in this championship by, what's that there, 122 points. So he's got
quick math.
Quick maths, there you go. Got fine little margin there at the moment, and that's not quite a full round of points, but 100 points per race for a race win. You can do the math there. If he keeps doing that tonight, then he's going to be in a good position. The 2 LMC Racing VF Commodores behind him in second and third. Cheese in fourth. So he's not out of this fight yet either. Neither is Darren Kemp in 5th place, the APK Sim Sport FGX Falcon. He's still got plenty to find, I think, and probably a point to prove after his second half of last season didn't go the way that he wanted it to. You mentioned the Cecils. They're absent tonight, so the men in 6th and 7th place probably going to be overtaken by Warwick and Taipan, who are on the 8th and 9th place on the ladder there, and then Zach Brown, who also is absent tonight, is in 10th. And as we go over the page to see the other part of this one with the 11th onwards to 12th. This also covers off our Super 3 competitors in green. So Rody Rhodes is the lead of the Super 3 combatants there. And you can see there's not a lot separating a number of drivers here, Snipes, in terms of Super 2 and Super 3 with how everything is all said and done. Of course, we haven't had to move anybody up from Super 3 to Super 2 just yet, and I think that's probably a testament to how we've actually worked all this out and said, you know what, we're happy for you to run in that category, and you're not fast enough to warrant going up just yet.
Yeah, I suppose politely speaking, but look, I think a good goal for a lot of these Super 3 runners has been getting towards the back of that top 10. I think if you're getting a top 10 in Super 3, that's a really, really, really good result. It means that usually you'll be pushing right up the front of your own category. And as we look down towards this bottom half, we see a lot of names that are here tonight where a lot of the top half may not be. We see names down in 19th like Peter Thrower. He's looking like one of the absolute hot runners tonight. If he can keep it on the circuit, he could be in for a podium. So that's a really, really good opportunity for the likes of him and Luke Yeager to move themselves up, because they're running tonight, and a bunch of people that are not. Someone we haven't touched on really yet is Phil Buck, who I believe is in the server. He did not qualify, I do not believe. So he'll be starting this one from the back, but he's definitely one to watch out for. I think he showed a lot of the Dev Series drivers at Winton how to do it. Once he started from the front, he just commanded the race. So it'll be interesting to see what he does from the back.
Yep, you're spot on there, and I know there's some family dramas going on today. He messaged me, and he's had a newborn recently. He's and a second child arriving into the family last year, and I've had this with both of my children as well, a little thing called croup. It's not a pleasant thing for children, and I can imagine that there's a fairly trying amount of effort trying to get the little one to calm down and settle down for the night. This is about the time that little ones go to sleep. I know my youngest is in bed right now, and they're probably trying to do the same. So that'll be why he didn't qualify, and depending on how things go, we may or may not see him take the race in a few moments' time. So we go back to the first page of the point standings there. On the left-hand side there, you can see the pole award and the fastest lap award. Fastest lap, of course, is awarded to the drivers at set fastest laps throughout the race. So Ben Hall's got the maximum at the moment in terms of 7. Nathan Higginson with 3, Boak with 1, and Kemp with 1. That's how the 12 races to date have come about. And then, of course, there's only been 5 qualifying sessions. Ben Hall has 2 poles. Higginson has 1. Lockie Lock has 1. You can now add Darren Kemp to that list as well. He has got the 5th one tonight. So that's how
I'm sorry to cut in here, Nether, but to touch on that, I could be wrong here, but at least off my admittedly rather terrible memory, I think that might be Darren Kemp's first pole, which is definitely a fantastic effort. And on the topic of him being at the front, well, last week I dubbed him the Kemp train. He's a man that is known to go very defensive, and you can bet your bottom dollar he's not going to be letting people past when he's in first.
Oh, you're not wrong
we
there.
might be in for some very, very interesting racing with Kemp leading the train.
We joked a little bit, I think, in the Enduro Cup last year, Snipes. We had Steve Burko and Darren Kemp teaming up for the Enduro Cup, and the little moniker we gave them was Captain Chaos Theory and the Good Ship Kemp. That's how it sort of was, because I think Steve Burko's handle, it's been the same way for a number of years, it's been Chaos Theory. I think whenever I get a PM from him in Discord, that's what it appears as. And because Kemp essentially is like the boat that you can't pass, that's why we named him the Good Ship Kemp. So I think you're right. I think he'll be out in front if he gets a good start. I don't want to see him go conservative early, though. I don't want to see him just try and play defence for 17 laps, because that's not going to work. He's got to start to build a bit of a margin, and then if he has to play defence, he'll have to play it late. But you are right. I expect him to be a very, very hard and difficult man to pass, but a fair man to pass as well. Let's bring up the team standings, and there is how that all stands. We're only going to look at the top 10 here, because we have got our top Super 3 class runners in here as well. There's not a lot between them, though. The PBF Scotch Smugglers and the Tevez Shadow Racing VE Commodores. Now, I'm pretty sure we've definitely got both of the PBF Scotch Smugglers cars in Cracker and Roadie, and just looking to see if we've got Laszlo Teglis, but we haven't got the other car in that stable, which is Christian Alvarez. No Alvarez. So that's a bit of a shame, because they're quite tight on points there. And then out in front, you can see it's the 2-car team of the Luke McHugh Racing Holdens that are on top. But with one of them absent tonight, and both of the HME Kiwi SimSport Holdens present, even though Taipan's going to start off the back, I actually do think that there will probably be a change of position on the standings here before the night is out.
Yeah, it's certainly all up for grabs now. P1 teams, it's also on obviously in the individual standings. Look, these team battles are close. There's a lot of time between now and obviously the end of the season, but nevertheless, every point you get can be important towards winning one of these. So, unfortunately, when you miss a night, it can hinder your chances of winning, which is what it is. People have commitments, but it certainly is spicy. If Taipan and Higo can have a reasonable night, I would expect them to move forward. However, I think even without Ben Hall, Lockie Lock certainly has formidable pace and can certainly put up a good fight.
100%. I'm salivating over this start of this first race here. I'm really looking forward to see how everybody is able to convert off the start line, as we just got a little bit of this late session practice. Now the driver's briefing is over. Actually, just had a little message flash up on my screen there that the encodings got overloaded. So hopefully the live stream is all behaving itself for everybody, and if there's any trouble, please let us know in the live chat. Looks like it might have settled down for the moment. Couple of items to, address here. The men that will be starting off the back of the grid, Taipan and Phil Boak. That's if Phil Boak takes a start. We mentioned it once or twice now already. We'll be looking forward to see how quickly they can progress, and how quickly, Snipes, they chew through the tyre. I think that's probably the one piece of the puzzle that we haven't been able to ascertain just yet, as Glenn Miles goes for a little bit of a wild ride there at turn number, was that turn number 4?
I think it's 3 there.
3 and 4, yep.
3 and 4,
3 and 4.
Could be about there. Yeah, no, it'll be intriguing to see how it works. Obviously, you're best on green tires, but at the start of the race, everyone's on green tires, so it's going to be hard to pass. But also, you want to pass if you're looking to move forward, you want to pass while the field is compressed. And saying that, you can't be silly about it. You have to only make the move when the move is on, but you have to be decisive when that move is on in order to make it work.
Yes, and on top of that, we saw last year a few differing strategies. Some drivers did go for the hard tyre and some drivers went for the soft tyre, realised it wasn't going to make the distance and then opted to stop part-way through the race, bolt on the set of soft tyres again and then go hell for leather.
Yeah, speaking of hell for leather, there's some race practice on right now. We're getting a preview of what it's going to look like in just a couple of minutes' time. Throw it down the inside, but yes, no, strategies are always interesting to mix up there. Jeepers creepers, it's on for young and old in the practice session. Good to see. They're getting it out of their system early as Nathan Higgins stops to do a practice start. Hards are always an interesting option. If the softs last, then the hards will be tough to make work without people in front of you making mistakes unless you have unreal pace. But if the softs don't last, the hards can turn into a masterstroke. So it really does depend on how well you maintain your tyres and how well the tyres will last as to what strategy is best, of course. You might see some drivers roll the dice. You never really know with these, where it could be a bit either way.
Yep, I think you're right there. You just got to... I think some drivers down the back, if they've got nothing to lose, they're probably going to, bolt on the set of hards and just see what happens and see how they progress through the field. That's what I did last year and started off the rear of the grid, ended up finishing in 8th place in the first race. Then it all went to, then it was I think it was a reverse top 10. I started, I think it was 3rd, and then ended up absolutely ballsing it up afterwards. So you've got to think about the long game here as well. If you're starting down the back, you've got nothing to lose. Just go out there, have a little bit of a dip on a different tyre, see what it does for you. You never know. It might be a preferred race tyre for you come the start of the second race. You might go, you know what, that worked out really well for me. I've moved up the field. I'm going to stay with what I'm doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be intriguing to see what drivers throw out there. I will say that I will be very surprised if any of the front runners are on softs. I think are on hards. Sorry, I'll be surprised to see that. If you're at the back, hey, sometimes rolling the dice can work. The biggest thing in this series I found from my experience racing in it and just spectating over the years has been if you can keep it on the circuit, you can get yourself a good result. So the main thing in this series is, in my opinion, just making sure you keep it on the circuit. Obviously, right up the front, the battles are hot. In fact, the battles are hot everywhere, but the battles just move up levels depending on where you are in the order. But the main thing, first of all, finish the race.
Yep. To finish first you must finish. That's always been the adage that I think for many, many years. And, in order to actually get somewhere in this series, you've got to keep putting points on the board. You've got to keep finishing those races, because if you don't finish the races, then you end up with, with egg on your face, so to speak, because you end up in a fence, or you end up in the grass, or you end up, as we saw from Lockie Lock, on your lid.
Absolutely, and you don't want to be doing that in the race. It's all, well, it's not really well and good, but nevertheless, it's all well and good to be doing it in practice and qualifying. But the race is a different beast. You got multiple cars around you, and if you have a moment like that in the race, well, that's your race as good as over. So you definitely want to make sure that you are pushing hard, but still within your limit.
Yes, that's I think the key piece of the advice here is you've got to know where the limit is, and you've got to know where you can't overstep that limit. If you go a little bit too far, then you'll find yourself off the circuit. It's the same thing in real racing as well. I think we've seen this. I see this time and time again with the Formula Vs that I commentate on in real life. Is that there's a point where you can push the tyre to, and then as soon as you go beyond that limit, then you realise pretty quickly that you've crossed the line. You've got to know what the car is capable of. You've got to know what you can get out of it at any point in time. You know if the tyres are not responding because you've been on the rubber for several laps and it's not performing the way that it is, then you don't push it any further.
Absolutely. I tell you what, finding the limit or finding more than the limit during a race is certainly painful. I remember doing it at Bathurst last year. Year before, I just absolutely fenced it mid race and had to drive with bent steering for most of a stint, which was rather hard to do. Looks like we are finally looking towards gridding up, I think, here, which is super, super exciting for me anyway. I'm really excited to get this race going.
All right, here we go. We've got our grid ready to roll here. I don't think we've got actually we've got Phil Boak, who's still in the pit lane and looks like he's missed the start for this one. So probably still some issues going on at home there. We'll wait to see how all that unfolds. But let's roll through this grid for the first of the races tonight. Darren Kemp off the front row, first pole of the season. Snipes is saying it might be his first pole that he's ever had. We'll have to go back and double check the records for that one. Opposite him, Nathan Higginson, the championship leader in the 00 Autodesk HME powered by KSS Commodore. Peter Throw, a good qualifying result for him, first to the Nissans in P3. He's got Steve Warwick for company in the Blackshaws number 377. Row 3, Lockie Lock sharing with Luke Yeager. One of the probably better qualifying results that I've seen from Luke Yeager for a little while, and a good bounce back from where he was a couple of rounds ago as well. His brother Damo behind him in P7 with Phil Donny in 8th. Rody, the lead of the Super 3 drivers in 9th, and actually, in fact, I think he qualified 10th. There's been someone that's actually dropped out of the order here.
Cheese, I think, qualified P2, and we're seeing him at least in the lifetime in P19.
Yeah, something's unusual there, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. It moves Lockie Ed and Felipe up to 10th, Brap to 11th, Cracker in 12th. Then you got Laszlo Teglis, Darren Lockman 14th, Melody Smith and Glenn Miles, Taipan, Hayden Cupid, Cheese in 19th. You're right, he's down the back. I don't know what all that's about. I haven't seen a message at the moment, and I think maybe Brendan Ross, who's looking after things tonight, may have actually seen what is going on here, because we've gone into a reset phase. So we'll see what happens on the other side of this, but I'm guessing perhaps that there might have been something just picked up as we were rolling through the order there.
Yeah, possibly. I'm not sure exactly what's happened there, but nevertheless, it'll all get sorted out in due time. So we'll have to wait for that juicy race start just a couple of moments more. But I'm tell you what, I really do feel like the racing in race 1 is going to be very interesting to see how Kemp plays it. You touched on it earlier, Nether. You touched on it earlier that you'd like to see him try get himself a bit more of a lead, try work out a bit of a buffer before he starts defending. Will he do it? That's the big question. I'm not so sure, without trying to slight the guy, as he provides fantastic entertainment for us week to week, but it's certainly always faster to drive on the racing line than it is on a defensive line. And you see these trains form up, as we saw in Winton, in quite literally every single race, because he was on the defensive line all the time, and therefore he was always being attacked, which is very, very, very tough. Defending is so important, and doing it, picking your time as to when you need to do it versus when you can just stay on the racing line and keep up your lap times is super, super, super important.
It's just like the old Mark Scaife adage, isn't it? Got to be calculated. Got to be calculated when it comes to constructing a pass. You know, as you said, there's no point fighting another driver in front of you if you know that you can work together with them to build a gap and get away from the field, and then worry about, you know, fighting for position later when you've got an insurance policy that says that, you know, even if you have a little bit of contact or you get a bit slowed up by each other when you want to try and change positions, you're going to end up having enough margin that you're under no direct threat from behind.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at obviously how qualifying went to versus practice results, etc. I'm really expecting Lockie Lock from P6, I think it is, to really put in a charge towards the front of that field. You mentioned there's multiple people that you'd look at perhaps alongside Kemp and alongside Higo and Lock to be perhaps taking that third spot. Kemp, obviously one of them, Cheese another, but I really do expect, even though there's some fast guys around him, Lockie Lock, if he can keep it on the circuit, to push forward to that podium position, even towards a race win.
I agree. I'll be looking forward to seeing that. I think a few people have looked at I guess some of the results from last year. I think a number of drivers from last year have gone and looked at what they did last year and worked out whether or not it's the right strategy call to do the same thing again. I actually went and had a bit of a look just at the results just while we're in between times here. Termo, winner of all 3 races last year as well, and of course he's not in this series. Moving for the this year, he's sticking to supercars only, but I think there's a couple of good results for Dane Liccardo in there as well. He, of course, has moved on to supercars main game this year. So the door, as you said before, is well and truly open to have someone else take a win at this circuit. For what would be, I guess, the very first time. I've actually got to have a bit of a think. When the last time we had a few drivers here for the summer series, there was a few drivers that took some good results. I think Tim Redmond was mostly the one that was featured at the top step of the rostrum on the most occasions, but there were definitely a few others up there as well. It's going back a while, so we're going to have to get a couple of things in our brain figured out to work out if that what our standings were back then.
That'd certainly be a bit of a look back. I could perhaps go do some digging for you right now, Nether, in some old files to see what people were looking like. But there's certainly the great thing about this league, obviously, throughout the years, people have progressed, moved up to main game, but the level of competition towards the front of Super 2 has always been fierce. And I feel that when drivers have stepped up and moved from Super to the main game in ASR here, that we've seen the next crop of drivers really jump on the mantle there and really challenge for the same fast times that the drivers before them were doing. We're seeing a consistent evolution across the field, and it's so good to see.
Yeah, it's the same in supercars. The bar has just been raised so quickly and so fast that it's almost hard to understand where the pace has actually come from in a lot of cases. Now we're getting some word through that we now understand the reason why Cheese is actually down the back, though we're looking at the grid to make sure it was all worked out, and the word has come through that he actually had the wrong gear ratio applied in qualifying, so therefore his qualifying time actually is null and void. It's a known rule in the development series that you must run the same gear ratio because it's a fixed setup. Everybody needs to pick the same one, and he's obviously put his hand up and said, hey, I had the wrong gear ratio on. That means you start from the back.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my mistake there. I called that as potentially an error when in fact it was not. Yeah, bit of a amateur hour for my flatmate, one of my good mates, Cheese there, starting from the back. A bit unfortunate, but then what this adds is another storyline. We can see he's got pace. We know he's right up the front pace-wise. Another person looking forward to move through this field. There's certainly going to be action through the pack. Don't you discount that.
Yep, there he is on screen there. Taipan just ahead of him. Hayden Cupid going to be starting off the back as well. By the looks of things, I think maybe he must have had his time deleted too, because he was a couple of spots further forward. So they're going to be on the back row of the grid. Phil Boak still in the pit lane. So of course there's still a few little things to be worked out there, I guess, whether or not we see the 046 PBF car tonight. We'll hopefully find that out in the next few moments or so.
Yeah, doesn't look like he's there at this point in time, unfortunately, but hey, hopefully he gets on for a race or two towards the end. Still got a few seconds to be able to move himself, but he's running out of time quick smart.
Yep, he'd have to get to the end of pit lane in the next sort of 30 seconds or so to actually make any sort of an impact. Tell you what, Kemp was about halfway down the hill on the run to 7, while the field was still coming over the rise, coming out of the bowl. So he's going to be waiting a long time on this grid here, and he's a long way back in the box too. He can probably come a little bit further forward, and he's giving away a little bit of real estate there. I'm actually just having a look here. Yeah, he's giving away a fair bit of real estate. So anyway, We're set for a start, and Snipes will have the start.
Oh, beautiful. I'm very excited for it here, Nether. As we line up, we get ready to absolutely fire. Who's going to get a better jump here out of Higo and Kemp? They're side by side, front row. They're off the line it goes. Looks like Higo with a better first phase, but Kemp's going to hold the inside into one, and he's going to maintain his position there. No, Higo sweeps around the outside, and he takes that first spot. Now, that is super important. He will want to eyes forward, drive away. Looking further behind, you've got Warwick and Locke side by side with each other, jostling for position. Looks like Warwick's taken the dominant spot, but Locke started P5, P6, so he's certainly still moved up. Peter Thrower, the one to lose out there with his countryman Luke Jaeger not far behind him as they all start to file down through to the bowl for the first time. Lockie Locke shaping for a move, decides against it, goes to the outside instead. It's going to be a battle of the brakes, but it looks like Steve Warwick in fact holds on. Now Lockie will want to set up himself a good run down into 7. Will he be able to get it? It looks like he has got a good run there. Warwick's going to go defensive. They're losing to front pack already. They're losing a bit of time towards the front there. Locke around the outside. He's got in front at the very least, but will he maintain the position? I think he has got it here, Nether. He's swept around there. What a good move from Locke. That's really well done.
He's got it, and the Snipes takes a massive breath after the first 1 minute and 1 second of motor racing. Lockie Locke makes 2 positions on the opening lap, moves up to P3. Now he can set his sights on the back of the Darren Kemp Ford FGX Falcon. That's where most of the positional changes have been. They've been in the top 5 so far. Steve Warwick going back to where he started. Lockie Locke gaining 2, Peter Thrower losing 2, and then behind them Luke Jaeger and Damo have pretty much stayed where they were. Ed Filippi's made a couple of spots on lap 1. He's gone up 2 spots to 8th in the Royal Precision Lubricants and Napa Motorsport Academy backed Ford FGX Falcon. Actually tacking on quite nicely to the 222 of Damo here on the run down the bottom. Looks like he's got a little bit of pace in reserve here. Just looking, driving. It's a bit of an unusual line there from Damo. Turned it very early for the corner. Just maybe compromising his line a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. You're going to lose lap time doing that. And let me tell you, movers and shakers early on, starting from the back of the grid, P14, Cheese has moved up as we look there. And I believe that's Phil Donny up the inside of Filippi. But it looks like Filippi's actually got him back there. A bit of a switcheroo. And he's got the move position back. He'll want to drive away from Donny there. But there's some movers and shakers early on in this race as we see some fierce battling in around the 10.
Absolutely, that was a good move from Filippi as well. Donny looked like he had the move done, just a little bit too late on the brakes, sailed through turn 1, and then Filippi on the cutback, big wiggle, tried to turn it early for the corner, I think almost in defence of position, and the rear end got loose. That's going to leave him vulnerable on the run out of the bowl here, and here comes the Blue Mountain Skid Marks FGX. Is he close enough?
He's got the run. He's going to... he's giving him a little bit of a bump there, and they're going to stay side by side. He'll probably see the position there, although Ayrton Filippi's run terribly wide, but Donny has backed out of it. Probably a smart play, just bumping him on the entrance to the corner there. If he was slightly more up the inside, he probably would have had the move done. He's given him another one, though, into 1. Some bumper cars out there early on in this race. These boys need to work out at 17 laps. There's plenty to go. The race may go fast, but it's still early days.
Still very, very early days here. Let's have a bit of a look further behind them as well. You've got Taipan and Cheese trying to make their way through the field. So Taipan's gained 5 spots after starting 18th or 17th. Actually became 17th by Phil Boak starting from the lane. And then Cheese has moved up 6. So they're slowly picking their way through the field. They're not going hell for leather at the moment. They're not sending it at every corner, trying to make every possible position over a short space of time. They're playing the smart game here. They're just picking them off as they happen to come across them. They're not trying to move heaven and earth. And here goes Taipan down the inside of turn 7. Smart move, block pass, job done.
Commanding move there, and he's actually set up the move there for his teammate Cheese, who's going to go down the inside perhaps here into 1. Just want to make sure he doesn't bump Taipan here. And good work from the teammates, both processing Brap within a corner realistically, so that's really good work from the both of them. They're going to want to work out who's quicker there, get themselves further forward, but they've got a bit of time to do it still, but the race will go quickly.
Kemp with an issue. Kemp had an issue. Lockie Locke came past fairly quickly in that one. Not quite sure what happened there. He was going very slowly coming out of turn 4 and 5. I'm wondering whether he missed a gear or something here. Let's have a look on the Outworld Broadcasting replay. This will reveal all. Or did he have an off-track excursion of some nature, or was he just in the wrong gear?
Turn-in or something? He's just seems to be going very slow there, very
wrong
slowly.
Gear. Almost in the wrong gear.
Must have been there, because that was super slow for sure running through that. Like, there's no real excuse outside of, I don't know, some sort of distraction perhaps, or the wrong gear, because that's just a weird loss of speed there, but nevertheless, he's hang on, he's fallen further down here. He's down to 6. We've got big troubles for Darren Kemp right now. What is going on with him? He's just falling down the pack.
Something's not on. Something's not quite right. Has he got like some sort of game issues or some sort of glitching going on at the minute? Let's ride on board. Let's have a listen. You tell me, Snipes. I'm blind here at the moment. Does that sound normal?
I think he's fuel saving.
No, there's some we're getting told there's some clutch issues. Word coming through. So the clutch is staying engaged, which means the car's not wanting to go down here. So this is a trouble. This is going to be trouble.
Very problematic for Darren Kemp in his championship. He's very high. He's still 5th in the championship, so this is really not good for him. I suppose if you are Darren Kemp and you're having this, you just kind of want to sadly putt around and try to stay out of everyone's way and finish the race.
Yep.
Just persist through it. You got 10 laps to go, but it's going to be painful, and hopefully you can get it sorted.
Yep.
Ideally within this race,
Yep.
but
doing the right thing here as well. Just trying to stay wide, just trying to circulate, get out of everybody's way, hoping that it'll resolve itself. Of course, the one thing to factor in here as well is that there's still drop rounds yet to play into the point standings for Dev Series and also for Super 2 as well. So we're going to not really know that until we get to round 8, what rounds you're dropping. But if this happens to be his worst round because of this issue, then of course he will drop that point score for this round. But that being said, it could still be a round for him where he scores a good haul of points, and then you end up dropping another round because you have a worse score. So just by circulating, you keep putting points on the board, and then we worry about it when we get to the end of round 8, then I'll work it out after that.
Absolutely. Hey, Nether, if I may direct you, there is a battle and a half for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. It's Thrower, it's Lock, and it is Steve Warwick all together. All of these guys have pace. Now, Higo's broken away courtesy of getting in front of Darren early and then just playing the game. Looks like Peter's trying to size up a move here on Lock. Will he be able to get the run underneath him? Possibly not a good enough one into the bowl. If you could get him going defensive, you might be able to set him up into 7, but that's not happening, and he's actually gone wide himself. And Steve Warwick said, "Thank you very much, Peter Thrower. I will take that position from you." Peter falls down to 4th out of the podium, but he's still battling around the outside. This is going to be intriguing. He's going to get a bit of the toe there from Lock in front of him, but Warwick with the commanding position into the corner as Lock locks up in front. But job done for Steve Warwick there, it seems.
Beautiful move down at the bowl as well. He had full purchase on the inside. Thrower had no choice but to leave him the room, and Warwick went through very, very nicely indeed. So I'm not sure what happened there to Lockie Lock, whether he's gone into a conservation mode here as well, and the two men behind him are just on full beans at the moment. Lock's got an extra couple of car lengths now. As you can see, he's just starting to edge away just a little bit. Last time around, while these two fought, he did a lap time that was about 2.5 tenths quicker than the two behind him.
It's an intriguing part of the circuit here. The old bowl, trying to get a good run, super important. Obviously one of the key overtaking positions, but it also sets up the next two. The 3 overtaking spots all come bang, bang, bang around the circuit. So getting a good run. He's pressured Warwick a little bit, so Warwick's covered the inside just a bit there, which really can compromise his run. They both use all the road and some, trying to get a good run down into 1. Looks like Warwick's going to have the pace. He's going to hold a semi-defensive line, middle of the track, try park it a little bit, and he has successfully parked it quite well as we look out the back there. Peter Thrower with really nowhere to put the car without being very heroic under brakes.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. He's got to be very, very measured here, Peter Thrower. Cannot afford to make a mistake, cannot afford to send it at the wrong possible moment. He's got to be super, super careful here. It's a very difficult part of the circuit to make a move coming up through turns 3, 4 and 5, and then you don't want anything untoward to happen. Just getting a little bit of stuttering here on the broadcast. Hopefully it's okay for all of you at home. We'll see if we can solve what's going on there in the next few moments or so. Might actually have to wait between races to sort that one out. There's a few microphone and other issues at the moment. I am fully aware of that, guys, so we'll see what we can actually do to try and clear some of that up.
Nevertheless, we'll still call it to the best of our ability, give you the best experience possible. We're still observing here, obviously, Warwick on Pete, perhaps looking up the inside into, what's that, 4?
Yep.
But Steve, sorry, closed the door very, very quickly. He was awake to it. Yellow flags out here. I wonder what they're for. Could be someone off the circuit. I'm not too sure, actually. We're going to have to do some digging as to perhaps what's going on there. But no one's falling down the order at
over
any
and under.
rapid rate.
There we go. Over and under. Peter Thrower gets the whole shot out of the bowl. Now the drag race down the hill into turn 7. There's the man they're both chasing. And through they go into turn number 7. Tick off lap 11 and start lap 12. Now, Higginson, the race leader, is starting to encounter some lap traffic. So Hayden Cupid was the first man to go a lap down. Glenn Miles is the next one that's on his radar. So traffic already starting to play a bit of a factor with the Super 3 cars that are being lapped at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Higo really streaking out in front, he's just got to make sure he finds the right time to pass the lap cars. Obviously, lap cars do their best to be reasonably getting out of the way, but then they shouldn't also be jumping out of the way with haste, if that makes sense. Just all in due time, working together. But Higo will want to process them quickly enough so he doesn't lose time. But also, every lap car he passes creates another car between him and P2. Just keeping it on the road right now, Higo, will be great for his progression as we look to Cheese, who's moved up lots of positions over this race. Plenty of positions indeed. Him and Taipan have certainly processed the field, and Cheese has got past Taipan as well, moving up into P7 now. Good effort.
Yeah, no, we're looking at that right now. They've actually made some good gains. Cheese up 12 positions, and Taipan up 9. They're just ahead of this man, Damo, with who's lost 2 positions. And yeah, look, the audio, I know there's been some audio dramas there. There is a little bit of frame rate stutter at the moment. I'm seeing it on my end as well here, gents. We're trying to have to get it cleaned up in between race number 1 and race number 2. I believe it's got something to do with me having altered the microphone settings. That the GPU encoder just needs a little bit of a rest and a reset to sort it out. So hopefully get that sorted in between races, and we'll go again. We've only got 4 laps to go, and then we'll get that rectified for you. So order as it sits right now, Higginson out in front, just doing as he pleases at the moment, not edging away in huge leaps and bounds. I mean, that lap was a half a second gain, but a lot of it now is coming through the fact that he's got to get past the traffic, and now he's coming up to lap Darren Kemp, who started on the front row, Snipes, and he's going a lap down.
Absolute disaster for Kemp, but credit to the man, he's sticking it out, he's finishing, he's getting points, and like that, when you have an issue like that at the start of the race, I know that I'd want to just pull it over and park it up and probably try sort the issue. But credit to Darren Kemp, he's taken some medicine he probably doesn't deserve here, but he's getting on with it anyway, and he's finishing the race.
He is, and he's at least going to grab some points. That's the important thing. Way! That was almost a rear ender for Peter Thrower.
He's gone.
He's gone. What on earth happened there? Is that a brake failure of some nature? Something's not quite right there, because he's gone down the order. He's going to get passed now by Cheese and possibly by Felipe. I want to have another look at that, because, and then Felipe goes through. I want to have another look at that, because that was really bizarre.
Feels like I feel he may have missed his braking marker, perhaps a bit distracted by Kemp there, or Lock in fact in front of him. I feel he's just missed his braking marker there, Nether. He's just made a mistake. They were going right past Darren Kemp, who's driving slowly as he's trudging around the tracks. So I feel it's possibly just a bit of a concentration error there.
Yep, I think so too. Oh, there's a car parked up as well. I just noticed Hayden Cupid parked up on the right-hand side of the road and getting going again. That's actually been a little bit... I know what he was doing there. He was actually getting out of the way of the leaders. But on top of that, he actually did bring out a yellow flag as well, which actually signifies that there's no passing at that part of the circuit, and it was a prime passing spot.
Of course. I feel that, to be fair to the lad, I feel that'll be down to inexperience. So as he races more, obviously your first race, you just want to stay out of it. He's blown an engine. The poor guy's now blown his
there
engine.
He goes. It's a barbecue. He did this in practice as well, and the Starrett Sim Sports Falcon is done.
Yep, look, unlucky to the fella, but it's good to see him out there giving it a crack, and he'll be back better for the next race nevertheless, as we are very, very quickly cruising towards the end of this race. Only a couple of laps to go. Higo in a commanding position, Lock in a pretty comfortable second, and now Steve Warwick, after Peter Thrower sent it off the road, in a rather comfortable third spot. Luke Yeager, to surprise Packett perhaps, in fourth, a really good looking result for him, and Cheese from the back of the grid. He started P19, he's worked his way up to fifth. What a recovery drive.
Beautiful recovery drive for Cheese, and that sets him up really nicely for this progressive grid format as well. Gives him a good launching pad for the second race coming up in about 10 or so minutes time. So Higginson with about 4 corners to go here, up through 4 and now 5, up past the new lighting towers, now down into the bowl for the final time in this opening race. Of course, remember everybody that the time limiting factor in this race is 25 minutes, so if there is a safety car for whatever reason, it can get very close to that time, and if there's a second safety car, well, we're guaranteed to finish under time constraints. But Higginson, no such worries. He's doubled his advantage from the last time we checked in a few moments ago. He's obviously been listening because he wasn't sideways through that one, and he comes home to take the bickies in race number 1. 6 seconds ahead of Lockie Lock and Steve Warwick. I told you someone was going to reach up and grab a podium here in ASR Dev Series, and it goes to Steve Warwick in race 1. Big ups to Luke Yeager, qualified well, raced well, was the beneficiary late of the incident with Peter Thrower going off the road at turn 7. And then Cheese, 14th place gain. He is the CRE and Beyond Electrical mover and shaker of race number 1.
Yeah, that's a fantastic drive there. Big gutting, qualified on the front row, qualified with the wrong gear ratio, DQ'd from the session, start at the back. What a way to bounce back though. He's got 2 more races to solidify perhaps an even better spot. I think he'll feel like it could be on after that effort.
And yet Ed Filippi's gone back to the garage. He finished P6. Taipan finished in P7. He's quite happy with that, and so he should be finishing in 7th. Damo had a little bit of a late fade. He started 7th, finished 8th. Wrap up to 9th. Good result for him. Peter Thrower fell through from 3rd place and was in the thick of it. He was in that battle for 3rd and 4th, and he finishes 10th. Still a good all the points, but he will be ruining that opportunity. Now he's got a little bit of work to do. Ahead of Phil Donny in 11th. Rhodey was the lead of the Super 3 runners. He finished in 12th, so he extends his advantage in the Super 3 standings. Ahead of Laszlo Teglis, he actually finished 10 seconds ahead of Teglis, so that's a fairly handy margin there. And then Lockman, Cracker, Smith, Miles, and then Darren Kemp, unfortunately, he finishes in 18th, but he's still classified and he still gets points. That's the important thing.
Yeah, that is very important. And again, I really commend him for soldiering on through that. Early issues would be, well, that's incredibly frustrating. You'd be so frustrated driving around that car for 15 laps, 14 laps with what's essentially half power. That would be very frustrating, but yeah, credit to the man. Got to the end, got some points, which is super important for his championship. And as you say, Nether, there is a drop round that will come into effect, and you fancy if your bad results like that, that'll be the round you choose to drop.
That's right. That's the important thing. That will be the round that you elect to drop if it happens to be a bad result like Kemp's had tonight. But still got some time to redeem himself for the next one. And we get set for what will be, I guess, another frantic 17 laps when they get underway, probably in about 5 or 10 minutes' time. We're going to take a short break here in Central Commentary, and we will be back after these messages. Don't go anywhere. The 2022 ASR Supercars Championship is proudly brought to you by Cam Rutledge Electrical, a licensed electrical contractor in Nowra, New South Wales. And Beyond Electrical, specialists in electrical, domestic, commercial, industrial and maintenance work in Auckland, New Zealand. The ASR team would also like to pay thanks to those businesses that helped us over the course of the 2021 season. Matt Harvey Repair and Tune, Smith & Sons Renovations and Extensions, Design, Plan, Construct. Penrite, a better class of oil since 1926. Ryco Filters, the professional's choice since 1936. And Milwaukee Tool, nothing but heavy duty. Thanks for your patience, everybody. We're just in a small holding pattern here for the warm-up for second race of the evening. Is hopefully not too far from getting underway. We're doing our best to see if we can solve the stuttering issues that are going on at the moment. Looks like it might be unsuccessful as it stands right now, although when we look at our little console here we can see if there's any drop frames or anything like that going on, and it doesn't look like there's anything that we can see that actually looks like it's causing the drama. So if it does continue to be a drama, unfortunately we'll be stuck with it for the rest of the night. Hopefully we'll see what happens when we get to race number 2, but while we're in this holding pattern, I'll throw to NZ Snipes again. And Snipes, let's I guess quickly sum up what we just saw in race number 1. There's frantic opening lap for some, moving through the field throughout the course for others, and a few drivers have got themselves a handy position to start this second race, but then some of them have got a fair bit of work to do as well.
Yeah, no doubt. Some good results. A top 5 for Luke Yeager. I believe that might be his first for the Kiwi combatant there. Great to see one of the stablemates doing well. Cheese obviously finishing very, very well up. Taipan moving forwards 10 spots. Looking at big losers now. Sadly, Peter Thrower with that late race mistake. I suspect he got damage from that because I don't think he was quite as far down as 10th after he hit the fence. So I suspect he was driving some bench steering, something along those lines. Unfortunately, of course, Darren Kemp, heartbreaking to start on pole and then have a technical gremlin like that absolutely ruin your race. But it's definitely some good movers in the positive side too. Ayrton Felipe up 4 spots, which is a pretty good result from him there. Lockie Lock, obviously, he moved forward very early with probably the move of the race that at least I spectated, going around the outside of Steve Warwick there. I thought that was really, really well done. He commanded the corner strongly. He got his nose in front and didn't give Steve the option of where he wanted to put his car, which is superb attacking driving from the outside, no less. There'll be some drivers that will definitely be looking to move forward. I feel that we're going to see perhaps a little bit more of a battle this race in Super 3. Obviously, Rhodey drove away a little bit in the last race from the other Super 3 combatants, some 10 seconds ahead of Laszlo and Darren. However, I feel that there's a very good chance that someone gets a good jump, and those guys, because they are all lining up, Laszlo, Rhodey, Darren, and Cracker, and Melody, in fact, and Glenn, all of them are nuts to butts, as you like to say there, Nether. And they will be starting the race all together, so we might see some really compressed Super 3 action for a little bit. If someone can keep it on the road there, they're a good chance. Possibly Laszlo there, a good chance for a maiden Super 3 race win. Could be all to play for.
Possibly. He's got a fair bit of effort, though, to overhaul this man who finished ahead of him in the first race this evening, and Rhodey, who was sort of nowhere in qualifying until the very last minute, and then ended up coming through with the goods to jump himself into 10th place for the opening race grid positions. And he's just out there circulating at the moment. He's the only one circulating. We are waiting on one more driver just to jump back into the server here so we can get ourselves underway, and that would be Cheese. The grid's actually been set, so we're waiting for that to happen, and I think that little stutter there, yep, that's just Cheese arriving.
Yeah, I've just turned my head to his screen to the left of me, and he's slowly getting into the server. It's working out what's happening. It's taken a little bit, but it is pretty much there, I think. Hoping that he gets his side sorted. But yeah, we're just waiting on him, and then we'll be able to get the next one rolling. Be very intriguing to see how it goes. It'd be a shame if Cheese, after that battle up to 5th, missed out, but it looks like he's in now, and my cat's just jumped up on his lap.
There we go. I got 2 cats here, but they've actually decided to make themselves scarce for the rest of the night. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of word here that there's a few dramas going on with the stream, so I'm not quite sure why we're having these sorts of dramas. I'm not seeing it on our end here. What we might actually do here, fellas, is we might even just take a short pause here, I think, and we might even have to restart this stream. So just bear with us a moment. We'll be back in just a few moments.